Hello, I'm Dr. Gloria Horsley.
And I'm her daughter, Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Heidi and I want to welcome you to Open to Hope Conversations, the podcast.
We believe that the greatest gift you can give yourself after a loss is hope, using this moment to connect with others who have not only survived but thrived.
So let's get started. Welcome to the Open to Hope show. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Horsley, with my daughter and co-host,
Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Well, Heidi, I'm excited today about our show because it's an important show because it's about friends losing friends. And we really haven't talked about that. We've talked about fiancés, we've talked about other people, but we haven't talked about the impact of losing a friend.
I agree, Mom. And it's so minimized and disenfranchised because people feel like, well, it's not a family member. And, friends are our chosen family. And so we will be talking more about that with our guest today. So our guest is Hannah Rumsey, and she will be talking to us today about friends losing friends. She is a writer, certified grief educator, and host of the podcast Friends Missing Friends, which is also the name of her website and organization. She was in a one-woman show called 42 Days of Summer. You can see it on her site. And I Googled it. It was so interesting watching you play all these different roles, Hannah. It was great. And
thank you.
You are writing a memoir right now, right? Called L is for Lauren.
Yes.
Okay. And I know that that's based on your best friend's death. And Lauren has been the inspiration for you starting Friends Losing Friends and being at the forefront of building awareness for this. So welcome to our podcast, Hannah.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here and to talk about this very important topic, very close to my heart.
Yeah, it's wonderful having you on. Well, start out by telling us about Lauren.
Yeah, so I met Lauren at the Interlochen Summer Arts Camp in 2009. It was a 6-week camp, which is 42 days, hence the name of my one-woman show, 42 Days of Summer, because that was the crux of our friendship. Years after her death, I judged myself and the depth of my sadness because I kept telling myself, we were only together 42 days, like in person. Like why am I so sad? Because the world was telling me not only that friends weren't as important, but uh, I minimized it because of the length of time. And so it took me years to know, like, how long you know someone, it doesn't necessarily define the depth of the love. And so I just want to preface that for anyone out there who's judging themselves or doubting themselves because they didn't know someone, quote unquote, long enough.
Now, isn't Interlochen a school for music? Is it music?
Yes, it is.
Very famous, very, very famous.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
what instrument did you play and what did she?
So I played trumpet and she played French horn, so we were both brass instruments. So that also brought us together. And we met in the registration line, so we couldn't have met more immediately. And my mom, quote unquote, force introduced us. I'm shy. She wanted to find me a friend, so she tapped on Lauren's shoulder, who at the time was this random girl standing right in front of me. And my mom literally lovingly shoved me towards her and was like, "This is my daughter Hannah. Like, you two should be friends." And I was so embarrassed because I was 17 and I was like, "Oh, mom, my God." But there are moments that are frozen in time in our minds that we just like remember so vividly. And I remember her smile. As soon as my mom said, "You two should be friends," I remember Lauren's smile because it was a very specific smile. And it was like someone who was shy, but like really actually eager and excited because she seemed to actually love the idea of being my friend. We just fell headfirst into probably the most ebullient is the word that comes to mind, friendship of my life. Pretty much for the first time in my life, I felt like I could be myself outside the home.
You were both 17 when you met?
So I was 17 and she was 15. So she was 2
Okay.
years younger. Yeah.
And so flash forward, she went on study abroad.
She studied abroad in Spain. And the last time I talked to her, we Skyped that spring. And she was in her dorm room and she was so excited to introduce me to her new boyfriend, who was, I remember he was sitting on the bed behind her, and she lifted up her laptop. She was like, "This is my boyfriend," and we waved at each other, and um, that was the last time I spoke to her. She went to Spain to study abroad in Seville, Spain, and she had her birthday while she was there, July 19th. The day after her birthday, I remembered it was her birthday, so then I went to her Facebook wall to post happy birthday. I posted a happy birthday message, and then I scrolled down to read the other messages. And instead of seeing happy birthday, I saw rest in peace, rest in peace, rest in
Wow.
peace. And that's how I found out that she died.
Wow.
Wow, that's shocking to find out on the internet, right?
Yeah, and it's like there's no good way to find out
Hmm.
about a sudden death, but there's something very cold and impersonal about finding out from her Facebook wall.
Right. How
Yeah.
old were you at that point?
I was 23.
Mhm.
Okay, so you met her when you were 17. You knew each other 6 years.
6 years, yeah.
Wow, that's really tough.
And then
Mm.
things started to leak out because she was an international student in Spain and she fell from a balcony. Is that right?
Yes. So the articles, there were articles posted on the wall along with Rest in Peace. And for 5 minutes, I felt nothing because I was just numb. I was in shock. And so I was clicking on articles people had posted and that gave very basic information and, titles like Penn State senior falls off balcony while studying abroad in Spain. So the first thing I learned is that, okay, she fell off a balcony. And after the initial shock, I screamed and screamed and wept. And um, I remember it was very fuzzy, but I just lied in my bed for at least a couple days and reached out to her parents and her mom. Um, I mostly spoke with her mom. Um, and the next detail I found was that she was at the apartment of a man who was creepy. The word
Mm.
creepy just put like I just felt this dread in my gut. I just knew as soon as I heard that word, I feel like as women, we know creepy is often code for potentially dangerous.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Um, and I just thought, oh my God, like something bad happened. I mean, that led to her death. And on top of an already horrible grief, I dealt with the mystery of not knowing how it happened or what happened, knowing there might be some mystery, terrible man out there who I didn't know who he was. I didn't know, like, is he dangerous? Like, should we be scared of him? Like, just feeling really in the dark and really scared. And her other loved ones feeling the same way. So not really having stable ground for years with that.
It looks like this man has been arrested and maybe tried for
Yes.
other incidents.
Yes. So I found out who he was. I'll back up a little bit and then I'll fast forward to today. In 2018, 3 years after her death, uh, Lauren's mother forwarded me Megan Kelly today, where this woman named Gabrielle Vega came out and said, this man, I don't like saying his name just because I don't want to give him
That's all
space.
right.
Hmm.
Yeah, but this man, drugged and assaulted me while I was studying abroad, and Lauren's mom said, "This is the man. This is the same man." And it
Wow.
just was a confirmation of really what I knew, like in my gut.
Hmm.
Um, and it was like feeling the original trauma of her death all over again. And after that interview, I mean, Gabrielle is like a personal hero of mine because after she came out, like dozens of other women came out.
Wow.
And last I heard, 39 officially um, officially testified against him to the FBI. It was incredibly isolating. And
Hmm.
I did go to the funeral, so everyone was so distraught. It was kind of hard to connect in those moments. But I also, connected with another really close friend of hers. Um, but as far as mutual friends, I've had trouble connecting with them on a regular basis. Um, in that, like, I might be afraid, even today, even now, it's been 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I still sometimes hesitate to reach out to some people because I don't want to bother them or bring it up. And some people seem to not want to talk about it because that's how they're handling their grief, which I totally respect. So because of that, I didn't feel a tight-knit community
Hmm.
around where we could lean on each other with the grief. It still felt really slippery. I still felt isolated, even though there were, people around. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, let's get together as a group and all remember her together. That never happened.
Right. Well, the
Right.
interesting thing is that sometimes when people minimize our losses, which is very much friends,
Hmm.
we don't even feel like we have the right to them. And you're kind of
Yeah.
describing that here. Like people
Yeah.
don't know where they stand in this because it is a significant loss, but society often doesn't see it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you worded it exactly right. And it's like it really was only 1 or 2 years ago, so 8 or 9 years after her death, that I learned the phrase disenfranchised grief. And it was like a light bulb went off in my head. I was like, that's this.
Hmm.
That's friend loss grief. And it like explained so much. Like, thank goodness for labels sometimes. Like, I think sometimes they can just really be healing and make us feel
It
seen.
kind of normalizes it because if it's got a name, a
Yeah.
lot of people identify with it, and they do identify with, as you said, disincarnation. So it normalizes what you're going through. Yeah. You
And
still
you know,
feel,
Mom, it makes me think of Scott, my brother, because he was 17 years old when he died in a car accident, and he had many, many friends. And this his death was, first of all, the first very significant loss most of them have ever had, and secondly, profoundly impacted them, and it impacted them for the rest of it still is impacting them 40 years plus later, and
Yeah.
we still get emails, etc. And even now, years later, sometimes people that we haven't heard from will come and reach out to my mom and me and say, I really miss Scott, and I've never stopped thinking about him.
Mm.
so I think that there
Wow.
is that whole community energy. It's not just you, but I love the fact that you're normalizing it for everybody because you're actually, you've done your 42 days of
Hmm.
summer video, you're doing a book about Lauren. And I think it's bigger than Lauren at this point. It's
Hmm.
in other people and saying yes.
Tell us more about missing friends.
I've done virtual peer support grief groups. It's a membership based group so that it's more affordable, more accessible. People can kind of drop in when they can. Um, where for a monthly affordable cost, I have 2 grief groups a month online right now, and also a way to chat with each other because I really want it to feel like a collective, which is why I'm calling it the Friends Missing Friends Collective, that will grow over time. Because especially when I was in acute grief, I needed to just fall into a community that already existed. I didn't have the energy, I didn't have the knowledge to create my own community. If there was one there, I would have been like, yes, please, like, let me just fall into it and like support, like, meet other people and get support. And that's what I want to create for other people. Like, I want to create what I desperately needed and still need and want now. Um, because yeah, like you said, it's it's greater than Lauren. It's about everyone who's grieving a friend who feels isolated, who feels misunderstood, who feels like they don't have a place to go, which is something I've seen again and again and again. Le- there are no easily accessible mourning spaces, grieving spaces for people grieving friends.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah. And
Absolutely.
I've even heard family members say, why are you still grieving your friend? It was only a friend. It wasn't a family member,
Oh my God.
which I think is really, really tough. I also I've got to give a shout out to David Kessler because I know you're certified grief educator through his program.
Yeah.
Love his program. And I do speak every quarter about sibling loss. And I appreciate him bringing me on board for that. But he's got a really phenomenal program for anybody out there that wants to become a certified grief educator.
Yes. I shout out to that program because that was so amazing. I really, really loved. I learned
Mhm.
so much. Yeah, anyone who wants to learn more about grief or become a certified grief educator, take his program, definitely.
Well, give a shout out to your site and all your information, how people can get a hold of you.
Yeah, so you can find me at my website, friendsmissingfriends.com. I'm on Instagram at Friends Missing Friends, also Facebook and LinkedIn with the same name. I try to keep it consistent to make it easy to remember because my
Yeah.
email is friendsmissingfriends@gmail.com. And if you want to learn more about the Friends Missing Friends collective that I'm launching, wow, I'm saying Friends Missing Friends so many times. You can go to friendsmissingfriends.com/grief group. So hopefully that's easy to remember.
Uh, as a bereaved mom, I will tell you, I wish your organization had been around when Scott died because his friends
Mm,
would come over to the house and I felt, I really felt for them, but there was only so much that
yeah.
I could do. And it was interesting because I was more open to his friends coming. My husband found it more painful to have his friends there. So,
Mm,
I
yeah.
really it would have been lovely for me to say, have you thought about going to Friends Missing Friends? It would
Mm,
Mhm.
really be nice for people to refer their family and friends to Friends.
yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Well, I want to thank you for being on the show today and for everything you're doing for friends and in the name of your friend.
Thank you so much for having me.
I agree with my mom, Hannah, and I know that Lauren is your guiding light.
And we want to thank everybody for joining us on this show today. And Heidi and I always want to remind you that if you've lost hope, please lean on ours until you find your own, and God bless.
I'm Dr. Heidi Horsley. You have been listening to Open to Hope, the podcast. You can follow Open to Hope on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. To learn more, visit us at opentohope.com and go to Apple Podcasts to subscribe.
I'm Dr. Gloria Horsley. Join us again next week for another Open to Hope conversation, where we invite you to lean on our hope until you find your own.